Chapter 3099 opens with Matriarch Farrell receiving the shocking news of Shiloh's death. Despite her outward composure, her visit to the hospital reveals the gravity of the situation. Shiloh's death has hit the Farrell family hard, especially Holden, who is visibly distraught. He appears broken, with red, swollen eyes, having cried for a long time. Sage, Holden's younger son, accompanied his father to the hospital the previous night, and he too is deeply affected by the tragedy. Earlier that day, Sage had gone to the celebrity garden community where Shiloh fell to her death and had a physical altercation with her brothers. This confrontation only deepened his grief and frustration. As Matriarch Farrell observes Holden and Sage in their fragile state, she remains silent, her thoughts unreadable. Holden, feeling the weight of his wife's presence, is too nervous to speak, and both he and Sage exchange glances, silently urging each other to break the tense silence. Sage eventually gives in and attempts to create some normalcy by offering his mother a seat and fetching her a glass of water. However, Matriarch Farrell declines, brushing off the attempt and stating that she only wants to discuss matters with Holden before returning to the company. Recognizing his mother's cold demeanor, he excuses himself and quickly leaves the room, stepping outside to smoke a cigarette. He reflects on his fear of Matriarch Farrell. Her strict and authoritative nature left little room for opposition, and even Holden, despite his gentle and loving nature, often found himself overpowered by his wife. Holden's attempts to satisfy his children's requests often required him to negotiate with Matriarch Farrell, a dynamic that left him subservient in the eyes of the family. The chapter reveals the complex relationship between the Farrell siblings and their parents, particularly the bond they shared with Holden. Despite Matriarch Farrell's dominance, Holden's nurturing and affectionate role made him the more beloved parent, especially after years of Matriarch Farrell's strict rule. This makes Holden's grief over Shiloh's death even more poignant. Though Shiloh was not his biological daughter, he had raised her for over 2 decades as part of the Farrell family, and her death struck him deeply. Sage, too, is heavily affected by Shiloh's death, although she was not his true sister by blood. He always regarded her as one. He often visited her at the celebrity garden community, showing concern for her well being. However, he was also aware of Shiloh's affair with Marco and chose to remain silent. Marco had sworn Sage and his brother Noel to secrecy, instructing them to keep the affair hidden from the women in the family. Marco feared that if the truth were revealed, Shiloh would be tormented by the wrath of his wife Erica and the other women in the family. Despite their efforts to conceal the affair, the truth eventually came to light. Erica discovered Marco's infidelity and stormed into the celebrity garden community, leading to a violent altercation between her and Shiloh. Erica nearly strangled Shiloh in a fit of rage, and it was only Catherine's intervention that stopped the fight from escalating further. Sage reflects on this series of events as he smokes outside the hospital, unable to come to terms with Shiloh's death. He and Holden struggle to accept that Shiloh's life, so full of potential, has come to a sudden and tragic end. The chapter also sheds light on the circumstances leading up to Shiloh's death. She recalls that Shiloh's biological mother and brothers had come to the city, putting immense pressure on her. Shiloh had confided in her family that her biological mother frequently demanded money from her, adding to the strain she was already under. The arrival of her mother and brothers on the night of her death only compounded her emotional burden, as they berated her for the scandal and threatened to take her back to their hometown to arrange a marriage for her. Shiloh, unable to bear the weight of the shame and pressure, tragically chose to end her life.